Good evening, folks. You should be able to now hear me loud and clear, and you should also be able to see my screen. So if you can't do both those things, please do let me know as soon as possible. You should also perhaps be able to see my face as well, and the face of John Oates, who's joining me this evening to go through this webinar with you. Good evening, John.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks, very well.
Good.
You should see, folks, on your right-hand side of your control panel there's a small box called questions. If you can't hear us or you can't see us, please do let us know in those questions. We have done webinars at Pitch Hero where people have spoken for an hour without sharing their screen or turning on their microphone. So it does happen every now and again, but fingers crossed it doesn't happen tonight. You should be able to hear us loud and clear, and you should also be able to see my screen as well. So we'll be able to start the webinar very soon. Quick piece about these webinars. We've been doing them for 4 or 5 weeks now, every Monday night. We try and talk about things that aren't Pitch Hero related, so it's more things about the general running of a club, governance, leadership, that sort of thing. So please do give us your feedback and let us know what you think. They've been hosted by myself, Mark Fleck, that's a very old photo of me, and John Oates. John has over 25 years working in grassroots sports, from a pro level all the way down to grassroots, and he's very much active in his local club. And he has done most of the webinar, in fact, all the webinars today. So now I've chipped in with questions. And tonight I'll be leading this webinar and showing you some Pitch Hero slides and some information around the web. And John will be asking me questions and having a discussion with me. But we welcome your involvement. And please do use that question section and ask us some questions, okay? So this is actually, I think, the last of the planned Monday night series. Like I say, we've been doing, I think it's our 4th or 5th night, and we've covered lots of issues. All the videos are online. You can access them if you haven't watched them already. And we've tried to just give a snippet. This is sort of a test idea, and I think that if we take it forward, hopefully it'll be a lot more interactive, more video podcast style, and we'll be working with clubs to try and bring the best practice of what clubs are doing at their local level, whether that's how they leadership, how they govern, how their committee structures are set up, how they attract new sponsors, how they sell to existing sponsors, how they attract new players, how they look after moms, dads, families, and how they run a club. Not the heavy technical IT side that you would normally associate with Pitch Hero. Although I do apologize because there is a bit of that this evening. So it's a wee bit IT this evening. A couple of other messages. Pitch Hero is about to launch the Pitch Hero Be Volunteer Happy campaign. We're trying to make admin and roles and running a club as easy as possible and as enjoyable as possible for all the volunteers. So please do get involved in this campaign. It'll hit your inbox this week, and there'll be lots of webinars to pick from. And of course, Pitch Hero is always open. If you need any help with Pitch Hero, you can book a demo anytime using that URL, or if you come to our new website, our new homepage, just hit the More button here, top right, and that takes you to our clubhouse, and there you can book a demo, you can attend other webinars, and you can visit the help center. So if at any point you have any issues with Pitch Hero, please do reach out and book a demo. We've got account people who will help you, love to chat, love to book a meeting. Just click it through here and you can select a date which best suits you and the time. So lots of slots available tomorrow. So that's Pitch Hero. I think that's most of the housekeeping. So we will begin. So this webinar is all about communicating with your community. So how would we define that? Well, I guess it's first of all your members. They're your community, players, parents, coaches who are part of your club. So talking to them, but then also talking to the wider community. We've got one message from someone saying they can't hear. So I'm just double checking our mics are on. Everything is switched on, so you should be able to hear us loud and clear. Let me just check. Samo. Yeah, the system's saying that your speakers are not working. So hopefully that may just be on your side. If anybody else can't hear us, please do let us know. But we've got one person who can't hear us at the moment. But we'll continue. So communicating with your community. It's the people that are part of your club, but it's also the people that are not part of your club. So your local shops, your local businesses, community groups, mums, dads, players who aren't members of your club, retired players who once did play at your club, visit your club, but no longer do that. All the people in your local town. So that's how we're approaching this and talking to them. We're going to look at why do it, why communicating is important and why it should be encouraged. We're going to talk about volunteers, because it always comes back to the volunteers having to pick up some work and some more duties. Starting small is always really important, looking at this as a small project. And then we're going to look at a handful of projects: web, email, social media, which we'll talk about quite a bit. And then one of the most overlooked, most powerful one, right at your fingertips, local press, and then next steps. So this will last another 20, 30 minutes. And throughout it, if you've got a question, just drop me a line in that question and answer box. And John will also interrupt me, I'm sure, at some point with a question. And likewise, I'll go to him on a few things. So why do it? Why communicate in the first place? Why reach out to your local community? Well, a big thing is celebrating. A big thing is showcasing your players, your club, what you're achieving, what you're doing week in, week out. And that can have a massive impact on the atmosphere in the club, the changing rooms, the players, the parents chatting. So I put this right at the top. I think seeing things out there, seeing your content online, a professional website with a great match report with statistics, players love that. Parents really love that. That's what drives our traffic. Seeing things on social media like video clips of a great goal or a great try. Everybody loves seeing themselves scoring, and they'll watch it 10, 20, 30 times. And then reading about it in the local press, the local paper in your hand, mum, dad, grandparents. It's a great moral boosting team spirit thing to communicate wins. And it doesn't mean if you're winning the league, it could just be a one-off win. It could be a small victory. It could be a good story. Put it out there, put photos out there, put videos out there if you can. And the reason why we do that is because people will see it and they will respond and they will keep them coming back. I'm always surprised that match reports, I think there was more match reports written when I was young than there are right now. Parents, perhaps coaches, don't go to that effort to put in match reports. We really encourage it because A, it drives fantastic traffic, but the response from the club is huge. The second one I put down is recruitment. Every club is looking for new members, new players, new families spending money in the clubhouse, and of course, new supporters watching the first team, second team, or coming down on a Sunday to watch the juniors. They will see your club by the communication you put out there. They will pick it up on their news feeds, in the local press. They'll see posters. They'll hear conversations at other social groups. And that's the best possible way for you to recruit, for them to see you doing wonderful things in the community. And that's the same for sponsors and partners. You know, wouldn't it be great if a sponsor approaches you? So rather than you having to go through the door and try and sell cold to a sponsor, but a sponsor actually comes knocking on your door and says, hi, we're the local estate agent. I can see you've got a great club here. You've got hundreds of members. I see you're in the local press a lot. You send photos there. I can see you're on social media. I can see you've got a great website and you take extra effort to upload things. Well, we'd like to give you some money. That makes sponsorship and revenue generation so much easier when people are coming through the door to want to work with your club. And finally, on sponsors and partners, putting communication out there is really important to retain them. If that local sponsor opens a paper and he sees his logo on the shirt, oh, wow, that's him for another year. Or if he sees a match photo and he sees his logo on the perimeter board on the outside, that's him from another year. If he sponsors all the juniors and every week there's another junior match report and another junior photo going in the local paper, that's going to make him win. And if it isn't the local paper, then it's certainly social media. Or if he goes to the website to check what the club's doing and he sees a smart professional website with good content, lots of photos being uploaded, lots of nice news items, and he sees his logos clean, smart, not pixelated, not messed up, but looking beautifully sat there on the website, then he's going to say, by heck, I'm getting a good value here. I'm going to keep investing. John, how important do you think communicating with your local community is to helping to keep sponsors and retain sponsors?
Yeah, well, two things. First of all, I've just put the word competition down here, and there'll be many other clubs in your wider community that'll also be trying to do the same. So as well as you can do this piece, the stronger you will be in terms of your competition. Don't forget that, because they're out there and they won't go away. Secondly, yes, to sponsors, of course, this is the value they want. They want their brand developing, don't they? They want to be seen to be in the community, helping the community, working with the community, as well as finding new customers. So the visibility of their brand name is essential in photos, in videos, etc., etc. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something that's often overlooked with a sponsorship deal. You know, you work so hard to get the deal. You know, you put a proposal together, you go see someone, your fingers crossed, you pitch, you negotiate a price, you get the money, you get the logos written up, but then you kind of forget about it, you know, and then 12 months time, you got to ring them up again and say, oh, can you pay again? But if you activate that sponsorship in the commercial world, that's what they call it, sponsorship activation. If you can keep taking photography of their logos, keep feeding back to them, keep putting their brand in the press, and then you don't have to hard sell next year. It's just a case of he comes to you saying, can we do more? What else can we do? What else can we invest in? So and communication in your local community is a critical one. So then let's move on to volunteers, because behind every club is a group of exceptional volunteers who give up their time. The volunteer is already probably a little bit overworked. They've probably come off the back of COVID and they're tired like everyone is. You know, they were working, they were looking after kids, homeschooling, and now they're back in the running of the club. And so the question is, how do you get more volunteer help and support to help you do the communication? Well, the interesting about communication now is that it probably needs a variety of skills. It needs all the skills, long-term, long-form writing, we call it. So writing a match report, writing a news item, maybe writing a newsletter, putting together a sponsorship proposal. But then perhaps you need younger skills to be able to create video content or update social media. So actually you have an opportunity here now where you can bring together a group of people, perhaps a small group of people, and treat it more of a special project. It's not a long-term, difficult task, but it's a small project that people can share. And I'll come on to how sharing the role of communication is really important. So for example, I put down here, you treat this as a project, and every project needs some objectives and it needs some numbers. So you could say we're going to have 2 objectives for a club, and we're going to put lots of content on social. We're going to put social media content, and we're going to increase our followers on a specific channel from now, let's say, you've got 50 to 200 by the end of the season. And we're going to do that by doing 2 posts a week. Well, you could find a younger player, a volunteer to do that job, just 2 posts a week of club news. And their job is to try and get that from 50 to 200. And then another person, perhaps your older person, could say, well, my job is to make sure the match report gets to the local press, and not just the match report, but a photo as well. It's more likely to get in the press if it's got a photo. So my job is to hit that Wednesday lunchtime deadline, and also then to build a relationship with the journalists, so that, and we'll come on to journalists more, but to know the journalists by first name terms and try and help them out and try and offer them content, because there'll be some days where the journalist has lots of space, and they might ring you first and say, do you have anything else you can give us? And then you can say, yes, I can. I've got a news item here about our sponsors, or news item here about recruiting new members, or about our fundraising for a clubhouse, or about up-and-coming events that we have to sell tickets for. And then if you have that relationship with the journalist, then they're more likely to run that piece. So with your volunteers, think of it as a niche project where you can bring together people with multiple skills. You can break it down, share it, and think it more as a project with some key objectives. Don't just leave it fluffy, leave it, you'll try and do a little bit. Say specifically something small. Your job, Bob, is to make sure Wednesday the local press have a match report. Your job, Jack, 2 updates on social media a week, and then to manage that social media channel. John, I know you've had some experience in setting up projects within clubs and trying to organize volunteers. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We've got to keep it simple. People don't have the time they used to have, and people sometimes, you know, are put in positions where they don't have the skills to deliver things. So bringing together a small group of people to work as a team, if you like, with a small responsibility over a short period of time is really effective. So it could be just during the season, as out of the season, these people can relax, but during the season, they've got a small responsibility. And if we have 10 people with small responsibilities, it fits into their lifestyle, fits into their time, fits into the energy they have, absolutely perfect. And you mentioned about increasing numbers. Well, yes, numbers are absolutely critical, especially for sponsorship, because if you go to a sponsor and say, I've got 200 contacts on social media, you'll go, okay. And if you go to them and say, I've got 1,400 contacts on social media in the local community, they'll say, oh, that's a bit more interesting. So your numbers are important, not just for support and communication, but in order to bring the value to the club.
Yeah, not to make it too business orientated, although perhaps I know, John, you always say treat your club like a business, but in the business world, you can't call something a strategy without a number next to it.
Oh,
it
you
has to
definitely
have
need
a
a
new.
plan. You need to fit it together. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, you definitely need a plan. You need to know who's doing what when, and I should have mentioned that. It's not just a case of bringing a group together and saying off you go, all of you. It's a case of saying, right, everybody, you all know what you are doing, when you are doing it, and why you're doing it in a very simple fashion, same as we do with any sort of business, and you need to deliver it. But it's not onerous. That's the key, but it is totally planned.
So let's look at the next one. You mentioned a few things then, John, about keeping it simple, but also keeping it small. With communication, it can easily snowball and get out of hand. And you end up actually, the process of the communication becomes the task rather than the quality communication. And we see that most of all with social media. There are so many different social media channels. They all need a login. They all have their own app. They all have their own audience and their own style. And they have their own size of images and their own length of text. And if you look at that list there, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, I probably left some out. I mean, I left Instagram out of that. I forgot about Instagram. If you think about all of those and what they need, oh, it's a pain. I run a business and it's a pain. I got people that just do this as a job and we don't do it great and it's a pain. So you've really got to just start basic and small and simple, like John says, with a plan. And you could come up with just a 7-day plan that gets you through the sporting week. So 2 news items per week, for example, 1 match report and 1 photo album. So a 7-day basic content plan, which kicks off your communication, could be 2 news items per week. And one thing that people always say is they don't know what to write or they don't know how to do it. In sport, the content is actually laid out in a really easy template because it's the same every week. So by early week, you can talk about what just happened. What happened on Saturday? What happened on Sunday? You can talk about a handful of teams. You can talk about the wins. You can talk about a few star players. And before you know it, you've got a piece of content. And then you can look to the head. Talk about what's happening this Thursday night at training. Who's training where this week? What's happening on Saturday? Who's playing home? Who's playing away? Where are the juniors? What to expect? What happened against this team last year? Before you know it, you've created a piece of content. And that's when you can start doing lots of things with it, whether that's posting it on your website, social media, in an email newsletter, sending it to the local press. You can send it. But to start with, you need to write the content. So keep that simple and start with something like what just happened and what just is about to happen. And then you've got the match report, which is really important. That's the biggest piece of content on Pitch Heroes. So on a weekend, we have over 100,000 plus fixtures, something like that. And about 20,000 match reports, I think it is, off the top of my head, that go up. And they will get the most amount of traffic. And what's really interesting about match reports, people come back to them. And the people that are coming back to them are the players because they're rereading them and they're re-looking at the photos and the videos and the stats, and they do it multiple times a week. So your match report is a really important piece of content. Start off really basic. You can create 200 words by just doing those 4 things. First of all, you set the scene. What's the weather like? Was it a hot sunny day? Was it a mud bath? Was it a waterlogged pitch? Was it frozen? Was it frosty? Was there a big wind? Did it snow? First paragraph, setting the scene. You then talk about teams, what happened last year, who's playing this season, who's playing well this weekend, what to expect from the different teams coming up. And then you can list the events of the game. And normally, if you're there, somebody will have put a note next to what time events happen, the minutes, whether it's a goal, a try, a free kick, a penalty. And if you just literally write those out with different people's names on and what happened and link it together with sentences, again, you have a piece of content. And then all important, and again, a lot of people forget this, and we really try, is a quote, and make it funny and make it about someone, because that'll attract more people back to read it. So get a quote of the coach, get a quote off a couple of players, put some quotes in there, and that makes it familiar, because more people who know someone, you're emotionally attached, you're more likely to read it. So if you're talking about people in their names and you're talking about them as quotes, it attracts more people to read. So that's your match report done. And then finally, you need some photography. Photography is king. It's absolutely essential to your website, because people will click on things with a photo. It's essential on social media, click on it with a photo. And you're more likely to get in the local press if you send a really good photo, because it takes up space and they like photos. It looks great. A smart photo in a newspaper, you're helping the journalist out. So always got to have photos, and you can make great photos on your phone right now. You just need 10 photos. A lot of clubs try and get a volunteer to be the photographer, not the video guy. That's a difficult job, and you'll see other webinars about that with things like Pixelart. But a photo guy, there'll be somebody at the club who likes taking photos, I'm sure. Make them the club photographer. Give them a blazer, give them a sweater, a coat, the big coat in winter. Give them a free seat on the bus, discount membership, whatever it is. You do that, and you find that volunteer, you'll have 60 HD photos on your website by Saturday evening every week. So photographers are a really great idea. But if you follow that simple model there, you're generating a lot of great content, which you start sharing. Anything to add to those bits there, John?
Yeah, just two quick things. First of all, you mentioned several times about attracting people back, and that really highlights the necessity to have the website there. This website is a tool we're always trying to attract people back to, so that they can learn more, not just the match reports, but learn a lot more. So that the website becomes the heart, doesn't it, of all of our communication, and we're attracting people back to it through social media to learn more, but we're keeping it simple. The second thing that occurred to me is I've seen in quite a lot of clubs, this is, Mark, you mentioned you're a business and you have full-time people on this. Well, that highlights the importance of it for selling what we have, for keeping people engaged for the experience. Now in a club, we don't have the money or the resources to have someone full-time, but we've talked about a group, but this is also perfect. I've seen it work really well where a student who's trying to enhance their CV around the digital side of things will do quite a lot of the website, because they're doing it, A, because they like sport, but B, because it really enhances their CV for perhaps university or a role. I've also seen it where a young graduate comes in and does it, who's just qualified in this area and wants really a lot more experience and broader experience to, again, build their CV up. And it's good fun because it's like-minded people. Yeah. So don't despair if you don't have the people there. Think a little bit out of the box about who might benefit from doing this.
You're so right. In one of our earlier webinars, we talked about the volunteer audit, where you write out what volunteers you need at the club and what skill set they need. And communication is a great one. You need people who can help you communicate. And young sixth formers, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, if you've got local students, university ones, they're ideal because they need this on their CV. We hire marketing execs, we recruit marketing execs, professional communications, and I'm always amazed we get CVs from people who actually have no experience of communicating. So they've done a whole degree, and then you say to them, how much of your work has been in print? How much have you had printed? None. How much selling have you actually done, coming up with adverts and promotion? None. How many websites have you run? None. How many social media feeds have you run? None. And these are people with a 2-1 degree in marketing. So finding volunteers at your club, it's a great selling point because you're giving them really good experience. And there will, I'm sure, be people at clubs who are wanting to do that degree, wanting to do that career choice, who want to go into marketing. So finding that volunteer could be really helpful, but you'll be giving them a phenomenal experience. If they get a job in 3 or 4 years' time and they say, well, I spent a year sending content to the local press, I spent a year updating a website, I spent a year running a social media feed, and I got all these numbers to show what I did, number of traffic, news articles in print, number of social media. You're doing a great job for it. You're doing a great job for their CV and their future career. So this is a great opportunity for somebody at your club. But you mentioned club website there, John. We'll come on to that next. I don't want to talk about too much about this, but as John indicated, club website is fundamental to this area communication. Pitch Hero does websites, and Pitch Hero website isn't about what it looks, it's about function, it's about form follows function. So it's a very functional website. It's smart, it's professional, it's a template driven that works. And that's all that clubs need. A lot of clubs will leave us because they don't like the template or the style. But what they're ignoring then is just the ease of use and the fact that there's so many features underneath the template that makes it much easier for their volunteers. And we often get clubs returning. The volunteers return once that person has left the club who moved it. That happens a lot. So someone will come in, they don't like design, they'll go somewhere else. A couple of seasons later, all the volunteers come back to Pitch Hero because it has a bunch of critical features. The critical feature should be, it should be easy and fast to access. You should be able to log into a control panel within seconds and be able to upload a news item within seconds. That's really important. If you can't do that, that's a barrier to communication. If you have to go through a special login or download some software, or you have to be on a special server, or you have to do it a special way, that's going to be a barrier for somebody uploading content. So it has to be really easy to access and really easy to upload. Third, you need multiple access levels, and I'm going to do a whole slide about this next. But there's no way one person can do all the communication at the club. No way. The vast majority of Pitch Hero clubs, and I imagine the people on this webinar, they'll probably have 10 or 15 teams. There's no way one person can do that. You need to share the role of communicating. And I'll come on to that next. Second, you need to be able to upload and store videos and photos. That's vital bits of content. You don't want to be having a, we used to have websites who would go to Flickr, if that still exists, or other services, and they'd have content in different places. You need all the content in one place, and that's on your website. And if that means linking to YouTube, that's fine. But you can't just have lots of different banks of content around the internet. You need it in one place. And finally, you need to be using a website that can sync with social media. What I mean by that is you upload a news item and then you can push it straight to social media. So you're not having to upload content to lots of different things. There's software out there that does it, but it's vital that when you upload to your Pitch Hero or your club website, whatever that is, that you can push it straight to social media because it saves you so much time. So let's have a look at user access. So on Pitch Hero, we have a screenshot here of a control panel. These all have on Pitch Hero. We allow people to share the roles of creating and uploading content. So you can add many people to the news items, and you can add many different people to an individual team. The biggest clubs on Pitch Hero will have 30 plus people as admins, easily. We have clubs that have 50, 60, 70 admins. They have 2 or 3 admins per team. So that's 2 or 3 people who could upload a fixture, could upload a match report, add stats, add videos, add photos. We have 5 or 6, it's normally 5 or 6 people who can upload news items. So that might be somebody who does the whole club, but then somebody who does the seniors and the juniors. And they're controlled by the primary webmaster, who has complete control. But this has never, ever been a problem on Pitch Hero. We've never, ever had a problem of conflict or people falling out. And that's because there's somebody's name next to it. So everyone behaves, everyone's very sensible, everyone writes, no one writes anything silly. It's because your name and your photo are next to it, you're ID'd. We have never had a problem with people sharing content and sharing access. And also, as I've said there, it's always controlled by somebody else, the primary webmaster, and they can check videos, they can check photos before they go live. So what we're saying here is have a website that allows multiple user access and then embrace it. Give your coaches access to upload match reports. Give your coaches access to upload news items. Have 2 or 3 people uploading content. I remember hearing stories from support where we had a club and a club official refused to let other people upload stuff to the website. Didn't trust them. They wanted them to email it to that person and then they would upload it. And they wanted Pitch Hero to make it easier for him, sorry, I shouldn't say him, to upload lots of content. And we were just like, this is mad. This shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be you uploading 20 match reports. It should be 20 coaches uploading 1 match report. So we pushed back. And again, that website didn't have much content. The guy was, he was doing hours and hours of trying to manage 20 teams. It's impossible. So share the role of adding content. Get those volunteers in, reach out to your coaches and give them the access. You'll find once you give them access, it becomes no problem at all. And the second piece that we mentioned earlier is syncing your website to social media. So you should all be familiar with this. This is adding a news item to Pitch Hero. You fill out the content here. You can add a quote from a player or a coach. You can decide who's author, and then you can add content, you can add documents as well, like a download PDF. But crucially here, you can share it straight to your Facebook and Twitter account. So in the settings on Pitch Hero, we allow you to sync your accounts to our control panel. So when you do upload a news item, you tick those boxes, Facebook, Twitter, also updated. It saves you time. The photo you upload is also taken over. They'll see the title. When they click it on their social media feed on Twitter or Facebook, it brings them back to the club website. So you're boosting traffic, but you're also reaching more people. You're reaching a bigger audience just by ticking 2 buttons. So if you do anything tonight, find that setting in your club control panel, and then make sure you tick it every time you post something on your news item as well. And then
Mark,
finally, in regards, so yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I'll wait till you've done your finally on this point. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sorry, I thought you finished that slide. I was just going to say that, you know, the 2 points that you said, just to reinforce, firstly, the ease of the Pitch Hero website. I'm not a Pitch Hero employee. Is the fact that because it's easy to use, it's easy to create that image that you need. Because the main thing you need to reflect to anyone who lands on that website is a professional image, and it gives the image of the club. If it's easy to update it as regularly as yours is, if it's easy to link it to the social media as yours is, it projects the image that you want. Yeah. Yes, other websites can be good and you can use them, but let's face it, we don't have a lot of time. And that's why this is absolutely perfect in my book, because of how easy it is to use and create that image you need.
Great. And then if we move on to the next one, also links onto your website. So talked about website there, we talked about sharing access, syncing to social media. What about emailing your registered members? So if you're not using Pitch Hero, you should be collecting all of your members in some kind of database, whether that's an online payment system, MailChimp, or some other email system, and using GDPR, looking after those emails and keeping them updated. Well, with Pitch Hero, you build a bank, a database when people register with your website. So the average Pitch Hero club has about 400 members registered. So that's 400 people you can email. And inside the control panel of Pitch Hero, you have an email tool, and you can select that. You can filter that, so you can just email parents of a team, or all parents, or all players, or the entire club. And again, we find the clubs that really use our tools the best will use this. So they will send an email newsletter out, and that might link to various bits of content across the website, because you can put links on the newsletter or on the emails you send. We have quite a few people that send out the Monday, what do they call it, the Monday roundup, the Monday review, and that might just list out every team and what happened, a link to photos, a link to videos, and that gets in their inbox first thing on Monday morning. And then people spend the first 30 minutes of work just reading the club website and finding out what went on and looking at all the different teams, the juniors, the minis, the ladies, and we know that's a very powerful email that the club sends out. We have one club where the chairman always writes a fantastic post on a Monday or a Tuesday about his club and what happened. And he puts that as a news item, and then he takes like an executive summary of it, and he puts it in a newsletter, and he sends that out to every member. It's one of our top performing emails, that one chairman. Some clubs do the midweek chat, something silly, and then we also have quite a few clubs that do the Thursday preview, and that's like, you know, just a newsletter telling people what's happening that weekend. And again, they're linking to very parts of their website. But they're sending these to every parent. They're sending this to every supporter, every player, so they know what's going on in the club. And all it needs is for them to mention it to somebody else. It needs it for another supporter to say, oh, the first team are away, but the second team are at home, and they're kicking off a bit later, and this is happening. We should still go down to the club because there's still a game on. Or there's a big cup game for an under-16s team on the Sunday. I wasn't aware of it. I don't know anybody in the under-16s, but from the newsletter, it's a cup game. Let's go watch that on the Sunday. Just sending these and getting into a nice routine will have a big impact on the number of people you reach and the amount of awareness of your club within your community. John, do you want to add anything about an email database or building that and using that?
No, I would only say one thing, the importance of it is huge, but track how many people, as we mentioned before, do actually open your email, because you may send out 200 emails and you may only get a 30% opening, which is 60 out of 200, and 140 didn't open it. But I was also mentioned the numbers you can go to. At one stage, we did a trial with in a couple of small clubs, cricket clubs, where you had to sign up to go onto their website, to go onto the internet. So if you wanted the internet, you had to sign up, and we collected the data of the emails of who people had signed up for the internet. And we found regularly that the number of people who were signing up were 4 times the number of the members. And that included parents, supporters. Okay, there'd be some visiting people. So let's take it down to 3 times as much. But we always found the number of people who would sign up for it was 4 times, 3-4 times. So, you know, there's a lot of people touch that club that you don't know who they are. And if you can find out who they are, encourage them to join your newsletter or information lines. Very, very, very important.
Yeah. And it's another reason why more clubs should move to online registration and payments, because it feeds that database. There's lots of reasons why you should do online registration, but one thing is it makes communication at your club so much easier, because people have to sign up with an email, and if they're buying something like a membership, they're going to make sure it's the right email. They won't make it up. You know, they won't just fill it out with anything just to get the access to the internet, but they will write the correct email address, the correct data, because they're making a payment. So if you really want to improve your communication, get a really good email list, move all your membership online, and I guarantee it'll be the best you can get. Transactional data is always the best. So let's now take a look at social media. My comment on this is that social media isn't easy. I think it's the 80-20 rule. It's probably not even that. It's probably the 90-10 rule, where 10% of social media looks great and is great, and the other 90% isn't particularly great. It takes a lot of time and consistency. And also, social media is a two-way conversation. People always forget this. You know, you put something out there and somebody can message you right back, and someone can leave a comment. And sometimes it can't be particularly nice, particularly in sport. You know, people can say things and do things. So it's not like sending out an email with no replies, or sending out, or putting a piece in the local press, or putting a piece on your website. Putting on social media is very difficult. It's a two-way, live, 24/7 thing. You've also got the issue around likes and comments, and tone and style. It's not easy. So don't rush into it, and always don't think you have to do them all. I'll come on to that further in a second. One of the questions here we've got from Faye, which is, what's the best way to cover a live match on social media with Pitch Hero? Well, we have a manager app. Let me bring that up for you. So if I just Google Pitch Hero Manager app, Apple Store. Pitch Hero Manager app. So we have this app right here. It's free for all Pitch Hero clubs. It's called the Manager app. If you're a team admin or a coach, you can download this. And this app lets you record all the stats from a game in real time. And you can post them, and it updates your website. So you can press game starting now, off you go. Someone scores a goal, you can press goal. It was Dave, you can press Dave, save. That updates your website, but it also updates Twitter and social media. So some of these clubs here have done it. So this is Waterloo Rovers, full-time score. It automatically creates this for you and updates social media. If I scroll down here, you've got some more here. So this is Huntley Rugby Club. Got a lot of pictures. I've just searched for Pitch Hero. But if you scroll, here we go, more clubs. These are all using the live score tools on Pitch Hero, and they automatically create these. Look at that, 37 likes. That's engagement with people on social media. If you hit the Pitch Hero hashtag there, you'll see them all coming through. So all of these clubs are using Pitch Hero to update. That's a goal. So when someone scored a goal, it says goal on it. When somebody updates their website using the Manager app, they create social content straight away. This is a netball team, Swans, big netball club on Pitch Hero, 4528. You can even drag the logo through as well. So I hope that answers your question, Faye. Jump on the Manager app. It looks like this. It's black, or I think they call it tarmac down in the dev team. Tarmac color, and that's the best way of doing social media and creating content. So if you go back to the actual presentation and look at social media, I probably missed some out here, so forgive me, but you have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and also LinkedIn, which we're going to discuss. Twitter, that's mostly everyone, but I'd say it's probably skewed towards males, particularly around sport. It's best for live stats, so what's happening right now, and it's best for player and team updates. So that's when people tend to be going through Twitter pretty fast and looking for content. You've only got a small window to use, and they probably don't leave Twitter to go look at another website. So they want to consume that snippet of information on Twitter. So it's not like, here's a link to our match report, go read the match report. They just want to know the score. So Twitter's small, live scores, and really big in sport. So Twitter is one thing that you should certainly consider for live game updates. And again, you can update Twitter using the Pitch Hero Manager app. Next is Facebook. That's for everyone. Mums, dads, grandparents are on Facebook, although I'd argue that Facebook is kind of dying off in the UK, particularly blue Facebook. Very few people are using it, I think, in the real world now. But it's general content, and you can share content into Facebook. So that's the match reports and news items, and also the stats that you're seeing on Twitter there. They also appear in Facebook as well. So you're doing two things with one app. Next is Instagram. That's owned by Facebook. Instagram's hard. They don't have the same integrations that Facebook and Twitter are own. So we can't force content into Instagram, which means you have to do it yourself manually. What works best on Instagram is short videos. We run a whole social channel called Grassroots Gold, which is purely videos. So video content, photo content is good for Instagram. But if I were you and you had a small number of volunteers, small capacity, I won't worry about Instagram for now. I'd focus on Twitter and Facebook and doing live things, and maybe come back to Instagram when you had more volunteers and support. Instagram and YouTube are very similar because they're both about video. YouTube longer form video, maybe match highlights, the full game. Instagram smaller, 30 seconds, 60 seconds max. That's all you get. We know for a fact the most efficient amount of time for a match highlights video is 3 minutes. That's what works the best on YouTube. So you can see you've got 30 seconds on Instagram, 3 minutes on YouTube, both video. Maybe that's a project. That's one video guy doing one social media, one piece of communication you can do. But again, there's quite a lot of work there to create videos, to get them out. Focus on Twitter and Facebook. You can do it through your Pitch Hero app straight away, and we create the graphics for you. So I would start with Twitter and Facebook, and then perhaps you can move on to Instagram and YouTube. TikTok, I don't know about TikTok yet. I'm in my 30s and I'm too old for it, but it's more shorter, funny videos. Things. I wouldn't worry about that right now. I would focus on the top 4, if any, and wait for. And the last one to consider is LinkedIn. It's a social platform. And it's becoming much more relaxed. When I first joined it, it was quite corporate. Now I think it's more corporate, but with social elements. And I think that clubs should be on LinkedIn. I think it's a great sport. It's a great business networking opportunity. And a lot of your members will be in the business community. All your sponsors will probably be in the business community. And they probably use LinkedIn these days a lot more than they use Facebook. So what kind of content can you put on LinkedIn? Well, it should be positive news stories about your club, a match report, a video, a photo, maybe once a week. I guarantee all of your club members that are on LinkedIn will find it and they'll probably like it. And your sponsors will love it, particularly if their badge is on there. So I would consider LinkedIn as a really important social media feed for your club. But it's not about sports and videos. It's about 1 or 2 really good pieces of content each week that are just positive news stories about the social impact and the community aspect of your club. So here I've written out a little plan. If you had one member at your club, one person doing social media, I would just do Facebook and Twitter. I would use the tools provided by Pitch Hero, and I would focus on sharing live scores and sharing news items straight from the Pitch Hero control panel. That reduces your workload. And you're targeting club members. You're getting club members to like that content and to reshare that content. I would also really look into LinkedIn. positive club and community news. If you don't use LinkedIn, I'm sure there's somebody at your club who does, and perhaps they could take on that role. But it's a great way to reach out and engage existing sponsors and potentially new sponsors. If you had 2 people, I would then perhaps look at doing some video content, and that might get you into Instagram and YouTube. 3 people, then certainly, yeah, you could add Instagram and YouTube. And remember, working on any of those channels is a fantastic opportunity for a young person. So reach out to those 16, 17, 18, 21, 22-year-olds. They're at gym, they're doing sixth form, they want career experience. Those are the people that should be helping you run these channels. As a volunteer, you can just set the tone, the style, the rules, give them some boundaries to work in, and then let them go and then monitor it and oversee it. But the one big bit of advice I'd give you around social media, saying no can be difficult, but it can also be the best decision. If you're not ready for 5 social media channels, don't do them. Even if you've got a volunteer who wants to take you on TikTok and YouTube and this and this and this, you could just say to them, just do one. Just do one of those channels first and let's see how it goes. And if it's a great success, we'll expand it. Saying no as a volunteer can often be the hardest task because you've got somebody who wants to do something. But in communication and social media, it can often be the easiest. I think in anything to do with communication, it's about the quality and it's about the frequency and it's about the routine, building that routine of content, that familiarity of people knowing that email is going to arrive, it's going to be in the local press, there's going to be photos on the website. That routine is actually really more important than a splattergun approach where you're on everything but not consistently. Interesting to hear your thoughts on that, John.
No, I agree with all of that, and I would summarize it by
you still there, John? I think your volume's gone, John. I can't hear you right now. You're frozen. Let's give you 30 seconds and see if you come back. Looks like we lost John, folks. The mic's saying that it's hearing me, but it's not hearing John. So I'll continue, and hopefully John will unfreeze himself and be back with us very shortly. So we'll move on to the next one, which is local press. So I think this is one that's often forgotten because social media has pushed it out. But I think it's a really great quick win and it should be part of a club's routine, and it is really important. Your local press, your local newspaper has space to fill, and they also have a shortage of journalists. So the number of journalists working in the local press has got less and less, which means it's probably down to one person every week to put the sports section together. And they're probably doing births, deaths, marriages, they're doing cars, they're doing things for sale. So that one person covering that local paper has a nightmare job. They've just got to find stuff. If you can send them a fantastic match report that they can just copy and paste, put straight in, and engage them first and say how long should the match reports be? If they say 500 words, give them bang on 500 words. If they say 300 words, give them 300 words. And then always send them a beautiful high-res photo, crystal clear. If you do that, they'll start to love you. They'll know, right, an email from Bob's arrived. I know there's going to be great content I can use. They'll start reserving content. They'll start laying out the paper and they'll say, Bob's going to send me a match report. It's going in, it's going in. You'll be amazed how many people still read the local press. Even if you don't get that press, thousands of people in your community do. And there'll be business owners because they'll want to know what's going on. There'll definitely be schools and school teachers. And there'll be parents and there'll be grandparents and there'll be people who make decisions within a family. A granddad who might always get the local press fresh on a Friday morning and he sits and reads it. He could be the influence that sends the boy and the girl and the family to the local football club. So really engage your local press. Find out who they are, find out what the email address is, and find out what the print deadline is. When I did it, it was Wednesday lunchtime. If you're in there Wednesday morning, you're on. So what you can do is you can get your match report online Sunday, Monday. That's great. Photos online. And then all you have to do is put that content in a Word doc, attach a photo and send it before Wednesday. It's a 30-second job, and it gets you in there, and your sponsors will love it, and also your players will love it. I know for a fact my players, somebody picks up the local paper on a Friday morning on the way to work, and by 9:10, the photos are being shared around all the lads who got in. And if it's a bad photo, you know, someone's like this doing a tackle, or someone's like that, Mickey taking, great for spirit, great for morale. People love to see how it's been written. They love to see the quotes. They love seeing themselves in press. So reach out to your local media. I think social media is so easily forgotten. You know, once it's posted, it's seen, goes down, and you get more junk on your feed. But something in print's pretty special. You know, it's there, it's in your hands. Someone's paid for it. It means something. It doesn't just vanish. So really engage that local press. Be the best mates to the local journalists. Help them out. And then when you start building that relationship, and I said it earlier, you can say things to them, we've got a new sponsor. Could you send a photographer down? Or if I give you a photo, could you put it in? Could you do me 300 words of our local sponsor? No problem, Bob. You've helped me out enormously. I get great content from you every week. I'll do you that. Your local sponsor in the press, PR, fantastic opportunity. Or we're doing a new recruitment drive for women's teams. Can you do a piece about women's teams and let me talk about the facilities, what we offer, our coaches, how it looks? Sometimes the local press don't let you pushing too much. They don't want it to be a sales piece because they want you to buy the advertising. But if you have that relationship, they'll let you write a salesy piece. They'll let you talk about it rather than by advertising. So that's why I think this is really important and a really undervalued channel that all clubs should be part of. And the final one along this, it's not just the local paid press. I used to live in a small village in North Yorkshire, not far from Leeds. And they had this parish magazine that was 50 pages. It came out every month, and a lady would deliver it through my letterbox. It would take me 2 or 3 sittings to get through the parish magazine. And everybody in the village had a page. You know, the scouts had a page, the guys had a page, the toddler group had a page, the football team had a page, the Bramham in Bloom Flowers team had a page. And you just sent your page in every month, and it was pretty much printed. You know, they just collated it, they printed it, and they sent it out. And again, your chairman or someone else like that can write a lovely piece. And that can be salesy. That can be as much as you want. It can be about all the great things your club's doing, but it could also be about how you join us, how you support us, how you can come to our events, how you can bring your kids down. Really reach out to those sorts of magazines. If you live in a neighborhood like I did, that parish council mag is really important. Everyone reads it, and everyone talks about it in the pub, and people turn up for things based on what's in that parish news. So reach out to that and see if you can get half a page, see if you can get a page. I know for a fact that advertising those is really cheap as well, but they go a long way. They really appreciate advertising. So a small amount of money could get you a full page and an advert and really win over the local community as well. So have a look for those really good local papers that perhaps aren't weekly press, but are certainly monthly. They're also really important and vital. So we rattled through that. We've been talking for 54 minutes, which is longer than I thought. So I'll try and finish off, and then we'll have a chat with John if he can come back into the conversation. So next steps. First of all, reach out to your club members, not just your current volunteers. They're probably already doing too much.
Try and develop some relationship with you. Now, Mark's back, so I'd like to introduce to you Mark, who's not phoning from or in contact from Bramham, but I believe he's coming from somewhere in. We've just been talking offline about you, Mark, as you've been off there making yourself a cup of tea.
Okay,
so back to
one of us froze. So that's great, thank you. One of us froze. I thought you'd frozen, but it looks like I froze. So we're talking about parish news that come out monthly. So don't just go past those. Also reach out to your local press, the local press that's perhaps even more local than your local paper. So that was the piece around the parish news. So I'll try and finish up now. We've been talking for 55 minutes, so that's quite a while. So in summary about communicating with your community, first of all, you're going to need a few people. You're going to need a team of people. You're going to need some volunteers. So reach out to your club members, but not the ones that are already volunteering, because there's lots of cool jobs and projects for people that wouldn't normally volunteer. Not, don't reach the older people, the more experienced. There's a couple of really good jobs here for younger people and parents who could write match reports for their teams, parents who could take photos, parents who could make sure the website's up to date and a newsletter goes out. Those are nice small projects which are piecemeal, which you can give to new volunteers, and a great way of getting a new volunteer into volunteering. Once you've got your team, sit down and create a plan, have that meeting, see what the skill set is, see who wants to take on board various different roles, and start dividing up that workload and make sure they have access to what they need, the access to the website, access to the social media channel. When you've got a plan, a strategy always needs some numbers. You always need to know what you're starting from and where you want to go. So if it's social, how many followers? If it's emails, how many emails a week? One a week. If it's traffic to your website from content, what's the traffic now? Where do you want to get the traffic to go? So start writing that down. A plan, it needs numbers and it needs a list of who's responsible for what. And at the same time, you could also start thinking about the tone style. Do you want it to be very casual? Are you happy for a younger lad to talk like lads do on social media, which can be very, very casual? Or do you want the club to try and make sure, use grammar and punctuation and full stops and capital letters? It's a quick conversation, but really important to have. Then start small and just get into a routine. Get a couple of things happening every week, seamlessly working naturally. Get that match report going online quickly, get photos going online, and getting it going out to the local press. Don't try and do everything and try and be out as many places as possible. Just get the wheels working, get it functioning. And you'll soon see that once it starts working, people like the familiarity of a routine of content. People like a Monday email. They look forward to the press. They look forward to seeing things. It's not a scattergun rapid fire. It's a steady, well-oiled machine. And then finally, local press. Do it. Reach out to them. They will bite your hand off. And if you're good, if you do exactly what they say and you write to their reference, like 500 words, 200 words, and you send them a great photo, and you put links to their website on your website, you buy them a box of chocolates at Christmas, you'll get a really good friend there, and they'll really support your club, and you'll start appearing more and more, and they'll reach out to you as well for events and things like that. So folks, I know that was a bit quick. I hope that was helpful. We'll be sending this video out for you in the next few weeks. Before we go, John, 58 minutes, have anything else to add there on communicating with your community?
No, I think you've made some really good points there. I would like to just make one point. Please do not be afraid of phoning up your local newspaper or phoning up even your local TV station. There you'll find when you do, they are very hospitable, very friendly. Pick the phone up. If you think you have a story that's interesting them, phone them up and talk to them. Or if you want to find something out, phone up and talk to them. TV as well. If you think you have a TV story, phone them up and they'll listen to you. They're not the big multinationals, they're not the national TVs. They will listen to you, so do it.
Great, thanks. Well, thanks for your time, folks. Gone on a bit. We'll let you go. We'll speak to you again soon, and check out your emails for more webinars coming from Pitch Hero over the next few weeks. Other than that, enjoy your week, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for your time.
Okay, cheerio.